So in the last class, we have discussed about the terminology associated with cultural anthropology, right? So in this session, we are going to discuss terminology associated with physical anthropology. Okay, let's get into the details. So the very first definition we're going to discuss today is about the fossil, right? So when we are discussing about archaeological evidences, when we are discussing about the archaeological evidences, we discuss about the fossil remains. So what do you mean by fossils? Fossils are nothing but the preserved remains or impressions of organisms from the past, right? This is what the fossil means. So whenever the organisms are submerged within the layers of the soil, right, they create, 1 minute, okay, so they create impressions of the organisms. Or when we are talking about Antarctica, so within the ice, few organisms may be preserved, right? Either dead, or if you're talking about the bacteria, they're alive. So we call them as fossil remains. We call them as fossil remains. These are the preserved remains or impressions of organisms from the past. So simple example is dinosaurs. So they have become extinct, but we were able to identify the remains of the dinosaurs, because of which we got to know that the dinosaurs existed long back, right? The same way, the ancestral human beings, right? Because of the fossil remains, we were able to identify the organism that lived in the past. The example, the fossilized remains of the Homo neanderthals have been found in the Europe and provide key insights into the human evolution, right? So Homo neanderthals are the organisms or the humans that have become extinct, and because of the fossil remains, we got to know that they existed long back. And finally, we were able to bridge the gap between the humans back then, the primates as well as the humans, and how they have evolved. So that is what we call fossil remains, right? The next one is race, right? So obviously we have this Article 15 stating that no discrimination based upon the race, right? So what is this no discrimination based upon this based upon the race? What do you mean by race? It is the classification based on the physical characteristics, though considered socially constructed by many anthropologists, right? These are based upon the physical characteristics. In anthropology, we discuss about race is a myth. We discuss that race is a myth. That means there is no pure race. There is no pure race, but how we are considering race based upon the physical characteristics. The African looks different, right? And Asian looks different. So we are considering that as race based upon the physical characteristics, right? So people will classify into races like Caucasian and Mongoloid. So Mongoloid obviously Asian, right? So Caucasian, so how we are, right? Or when you're talking about the America, so you can actually identify the stark difference between the individuals. We are considering that as a race, though modern science shows that genetic variation between the races is minimal, right? That is the reason why we discuss about race as a myth in anthropology. So because few people think that a particular race is superior and the other race is inferior, so we have this discrimination, the Africans being sold like slaves because of the racial superiority, right? So that is the reason. So as per the modern science, the genetic variation for between the different races is extremely minimal. So that's why the race is regarded as a myth after the advancements of the study on anthropology. So that is race. Race is nothing but the classification of the individuals based upon the physical characteristics. Negroid, African is Negroid, right? And Mongoloid. So obviously China, if you take Chinese, obviously they are Mongoloid, right? You can actually identify the difference, the physical characteristics, but genetically they are almost the same, but there are slight variations, that's all. But you cannot classify them, classify some individuals saying that they belong to a particular race, and because of that racial aspects they are inferior or the others are superior.